The battlefield was quiet now, covered in smoke and the faint sound of metal collapsing in the distance. The war between humans and the Clerians had lasted for years, spreading across countless worlds, leaving behind nothing but ashes and silence. Now only one human soldier stood among the ruins of the alien capital. His armor was dented, his visor cracked, and his breathing heavy behind the mechanical filters. He had fought through the last wave of enemy warriors alone. His name was Daniel, though few called him that anymore. Among the surviving humans, he was known only as the Iron Ghost, a soldier who never removed his armor, who never spoke except when necessary, and who always returned from battles that others did not. Before him stood the grand chamber of the Clerian throne, a structure of silver stone and pulsing blue veins of energy. Inside, on the raised platform, sat the queen. Her wings, once a radiant shade of violet, were now dull and torn. Her crown was cracked, and her once commanding posture had softened into exhaustion. She looked down at the human soldier with a mixture of hatred, curiosity, and sorrow. Daniel entered the hall slowly, his heavy boots echoing against the alien floor. Every step he took left behind a mark of human persistence. He did not raise his weapon. The war was over, and he knew it. The queen's guards had fled or fallen. Only she remained, the last symbol of a dying empire. She lifted her gaze, her golden eyes glowing faintly. "Human," she said, her voice carrying the weight of loss. "Have you come to finish what your kind began?" Daniel stood still for a long moment. The wind outside carried dust through the open cracks of the chamber, and the light of 2 distant suns fell through the ceiling, painting their shadows across the floor. "I didn't come to kill you," he replied, his voice deep and mechanical through the helmet. "The war is over. There's nothing left to fight for." The queen tilted her head slightly. "Nothing left to fight for? Your kind destroyed half of the galaxy. Our worlds burned. Our children vanished into your firestorms. You call that nothing?" Daniel didn't answer right away. His gloved hands tightened at his sides. He looked around the room at the alien murals on the walls showing the history of her people, their rise, their culture, their peace before the war. Humanity had torn through it all in the name of survival, expansion, and fear. Finally, he said, "We didn't want this war. But once it started, none of us could stop it. You attacked one of our colonies. We fought back. And then everything spiraled beyond control." The queen's eyes dimmed. "That colony was on a sacred moon. You mined the heart of our goddess. You desecrated it without care." He lowered his head. "Maybe we did. Maybe we were wrong. But now, after all this, what does it matter?" Silence filled the hall. The queen's claws rested on her knees as she studied the man before her. His armor was old, patched with different metals, carrying symbols from many battles. The scratches told stories of pain and endurance. Yet beneath that machine shell, she sensed something different from the other humans she had encountered. She rose slowly from her throne, her tall frame towering over him, though her body trembled from exhaustion. "You stand before me unarmed, human. Do you think I cannot crush you where you stand?" Daniel took a step forward, lowering his weapon to the ground. "Maybe you can, but I'm done fighting." His words made her pause. She had seen countless soldiers, brave and cruel, but never one who laid down his arms willingly. She descended from the platform, her wings trailing faint light behind her. As she approached, she looked at the reflection of herself in his helmet, an image of a ruler who had lost everything. Her empire was gone, her people scattered, her children dead. And yet this human stood before her, calm and unshaken. "What? Are you without that armor, human?" she asked softly. "A machine pretending to have a heart?" Daniel was silent again, then reached for his helmet. His hands moved slowly, as if even he feared what would happen next. The locks hissed open, and with a faint release of air, he lifted the helmet from his head. The queen froze. For the first time, she saw his face, scarred, tired, and deeply human. His hair was short and grayed from the years of battle. His eyes were not filled with rage or pride, but a quiet sorrow that mirrored her own. He looked like a man who had carried too many ghosts on his shoulders. The Queen's breath trembled. You're just a man. Always was, he said quietly. Just a man who kept surviving. She looked into his eyes, expecting coldness, but found only compassion. No hatred, no hunger for victory, just understanding. The realization hit her like a storm. For so long she had seen humans as monsters, metal beasts that brought ruin wherever they went. But now, face to face, the monster looked as broken as she felt. Her chest tightened, and to her own surprise, her vision blurred. Tears, shimmering, like drops of liquid crystal, began to fall from her golden eyes. Daniel didn't move. He just watched as the alien queen, the being who had commanded legions across the stars, stood before him weeping silently. "Why?" she whispered. "Why do you show me your face now, at the end?" He took a deep breath. Because someone has to stop seeing the enemy and start seeing the truth. Her tears fell onto the floor, creating small, glowing ripples that faded quickly. She turned away, trying to hide her face, but her voice broke as she spoke. "You think this changes anything? My people are gone. My home is dust. What is left for me to see?" Daniel looked around the hall again. Maybe nothing. Maybe this is how everything ends, but maybe it's also how something new begins. She slowly faced him again. "You think peace can be born from this?" "I don't know," he admitted. "But if we don't try, then every death, yours, mine, all of them, means nothing." The Queen stared at him for a long time. Then she took a hesitant step forward. Her claws brushed against the metal of his chest plate, leaving faint scratches. "Your kind fears us, you always did. And you feared us too," he replied softly. "Fear is what started this war." She closed her eyes, lowering her head. Then maybe fear should end it too. Daniel didn't fully understand what she meant, but he saw the change in her. The weight of her crown seemed to vanish as she spoke again. "Human, when you leave this place, tell your people that the Clerians will not rise again. The war ends here, not because you conquered us, but because I will not let vengeance consume the stars any longer." He nodded slowly. "And what about you?" She looked around the empty throne room, her once glorious home now cold and broken. "I will remain. Queens do not run from the ashes of their kingdoms." Daniel took a small step closer. "You don't have to die here." Her golden eyes met his once more. "And where would I go?" "Among your kind, I would be hunted. Among mine, there is no one left. This place is my grave now." Daniel hesitated, then reached into his armor pouch and pulled out a small metallic seed. "This is a restoration capsule. It carries a terraforming code, something we use to rebuild worlds after war. Maybe it can help you start again, even if it's just to plant something living here." She looked at the small object in his palm, her tears still glistening. "Why would you give this to me?" "Because maybe I owe it to you," he said. "To your people, to everyone we lost." She took the capsule carefully, her claws trembling. "You are strange, human. You destroy worlds, and yet you bring seeds to their ruins." Daniel gave a faint smile, one corner of his mouth lifting. "That's what humans do. We destroy. We rebuild. We try again." The Queen stared at him, and then something within her broke completely, not in despair but in a quiet, overwhelming realization. She saw him not as an enemy, not as a killer, but as a reflection of her own people. Flawed, frightened, but still reaching for something better. Her tears flowed freely. Now, they glowed brighter with each drop until the air around them shimmered faintly with light. "If the universe has any mercy left," she whispered, "it will remember this moment." Daniel nodded, then began to reattach his helmet. The hiss of sealing locks echoed in the quiet chamber. As his face disappeared behind the armor once more, the Queen felt a strange emptiness in her chest, as though a piece of her heart had been torn away. He turned to leave, his boots echoing softly on the stone. But before stepping outside, he paused and looked back at her. "Your people once said that the stars were the eyes of your ancestors," he said. "Maybe they're still watching. Maybe they'll see that you tried to save what was left." The Queen looked up toward the ceiling, where faint beams of starlight shone through the cracks. "And what of your ancestors, human? What do they see when they look down?" He paused for a long moment before answering. "They see that we're still trying to be better than yesterday." The Queen's wings folded behind her, and she gave him one last look of sorrow, respect, and something that might have been hope. When he stepped outside, the suns had begun to set, casting long shadows across the shattered city. Daniel looked at the horizon where human ships hovered in silence, waiting for his return, but he didn't signal them yet. He stood there, breathing the dry, alien air, thinking of what he had seen in the Queen's eyes. Back inside, the Queen walked slowly to her throne and sat down once more. In her palm, the small metallic seed glowed faintly. She closed her fingers around it and whispered, "Let something live again." Outside, as the light faded, Daniel raised his eyes to the darkening sky. For the first time in years, he felt something he hadn't felt since before the war: peace. In the ruins of two civilizations, one human,